Man, what's happening? Yeah, I know it's been a long time. This time I got cold teeth. It ain't quite as hot, but it's gonna be just as good. You know what I mean? I'm waiting on a few people to jump in, man. I want to deal with a few issues, man, going on at different places. Probably want to start with Marshall County today, man. I want to just see, want to talk about some of the things that are happening up there and across the state. You know, a few people are still taking uh, as if that uniform or position or title gives them the right to infringe upon other people's right. So I'm waiting on a few more people to jump in, man. So I'm just gonna jump across the state. Y'all let me know if my music's too loud and you can't hear me, because I definitely want you to hear me every time I come on and talk to you. So keep my thing say, we fight back. You know what I mean? So if you want to get in the ring, you got something you want to say, you want to pass on to me, let me know. And I'm gonna talk about it. But I got a few things myself I want to talk about. I'm gonna start at Marshall County. Uh, First thing, Marshall County, man. You know, big ups to. I heard they got a decent superintendent in Mr. Loden. You know, but I think that he needs to be accessible to his people. I don't think that he's getting to the people like he should. You know what I mean, and talk to them to get out there and see what's going on. You know, you're short staffed, man. But the only thing about it, man, you can't make a difference between a black and white thing. This is not a black and white thing. You know, it's a blue thing if you're talking about fighting for MDOC. And the thing is that you're there to, as I say, to serve and protect the community. That's the first thing. And ensure the guys got the things that they need so the families can know that their loved ones are safe inside of your facilities. Um, with that being said, you got upper level staff. Hey, what's up, sis? How you doing? Um, one thing about it, man, you gotta let your deputy superintendent White know that his his other deputy wardens are the black deputy wardens are just as important as the white deputy warden. This is no black and white issue, man. You know what I mean? When they come to work and put in that time, it's already sad that officers are able to make more than your deputy wardens because they're not allowed to get overtime. So when you do that and you overwork a deputy warden, I think that it's important that you understand that you have regular COs with seniority, of course, making more than some of your deputy wardens because they're allowed to get overtime. So you need to find some kind of way to compensate for that, especially with your staff short, and then they need to have access to the things that they need so that they can properly run their units. And so, you got a few people up there, man, that are overworked and underpaid, so to speak. Now I want to jump down to Parchment. The first thing I want to address at Parchment is that, Mr. Fleming, I never had a problem with you. But, but, if you got my phone number, like I tell you, same thing I tell Batman, I'm going to tell you this. You got my number, you can call me. So you don't have to side talk to anybody, have a sidebar about me. You can call me just like you called me when you had a problem and you wanted one of your guys and you brought him over and he was getting ready to go home and you brought him over to the chapel and I compensated for them. Nobody you brought over there, whether it was Bump or either one of the guys that worked for you, when you brought them to the chapel and you said they were going home, myself and the rest of the chaplain staff took care of them and even helped them with their transition home. For you, as a white man that brought some of your white inmates over to the chapel when they were getting ready to go home and we looked out for them, for you to say that I'm a racist. Well, I'm a racist because I'm speaking up for my people and the injustice that are going on. How about how you distribute your money, from the canteen and how you interact with some of your white inmate employees and your black inmate employees? You know what I mean? How you turn the blind eye or how you make sure that certain buildings have their commissary, and some of them, when they're short, you're double billing some of the inmates for some of the commissaries that they're getting. So let's talk about some of the things that you're doing first as an employee before you say that I'm a racist. Because I love my people, I'm a racist. I'll make no.
man, I love my people and I'm gonna fight for them because we've always been in a struggle. You know, from the cradle to the grave, we're in a struggle. So because you know, you have your spoon-fed self up there with a privileged job that you don't do anything, you know what I mean? But sit there and let other inmates run your department, you know what I mean? And look at the people that you got around you. Tell me how many black employees that you have under you. You know what I mean? That are making any money. So be careful what you say, you know, because there's a lot of stuff I know about canteen and the things that you do and how you operate there. As far as inmates that work for you getting extra stuff, like all the extra stuff that's damaged or whatever. You know what I mean? So be careful what you say, man, because I was everywhere when I was at Parson, including the canteen. You know what I mean? And so I kept my ear to the ground at all times. So be careful of the fight that you pick, Mr. Fleming. And like I said, I have the same number I was when you was calling me, when Bumpner was going home and your other employee was going home, and you wanted to ensure that I looked out for them, you know, and Sam and all them and everybody that you brought over there. So don't call me a racist. So what you telling me, you brought your employees to a racist while I was there? You know what I mean? So I have no beef with you. You know what I mean? But if you pick the bone, if you carry the bone, I'm gonna bring it back to you, and it's gonna be facts and legit, and it's gonna be in black and white. So be careful. Um, I think the heat issue still hasn't been resolved at 29. Also, um, could the heat be making the staff act the way they do? Because we've been having a lot of issues between staff, man, and the temperatures are rising. And even with H building, even with the staff in the H building, you still got the other guys on lockdown. I understand the nature and the safe. It was a one-on-one fight, man. So you still got these guys locked down in a 110-degree unit, and they're not getting a shower like they're supposed to. And I understand the safety because I've been incarcerated. You know, I spent at least 6 months on lockdown after a fight, but it was a gang fight and it was a race fight. So when it's a race fight, you got to interview everybody. So have you did the interviews? And if you have, why are you still punishing the guys that are still in H building? You know, it's bad enough that they're on 23 and 1 and they only come out once or twice a week for showers. So why are they still been on lockdown? Why are they not getting the day call? Why haven't you fixed the water there? The temperatures in the H building, um, it's only one temperature in the, it's extremely hot. You know what I mean? With 120-degree temperature, it's extremely hot. You can't turn it down. Even some of the cells are broken. The water's coming out of the sink super hot. So how are guys going to drink? You telling me they got to drink hot water in a 110 plus degree unit? You know what I mean? So just check on that, Batman. You know, check on those people at H building. Why are you still punishing them for the things that you already shook them down? You give them an opportunity to turn the knife, and you went in and shook them down and leave them find more. You know what I mean? That's just the convict way, man. As long as you have men with different personalities, you're going to have conflict. So it's a one-on-one conflict. Could have been from the heat. Could have been from the stress of being incarcerated in long-term custody. It could have been staff not giving them their clothes on time. It could have been a number of things that caused the temperature to rise between guys in H building, like the 4-on-1 fight that you had in F building today. It could be a lot of things, man. But the heat damn sure could be one of them. You know what I mean? So whenever you're at one institution, you don't have enough K9 to run the whole thing. So you're going to be running around. As long as that problem is not fixed at 29, you're going to be doing a lot of running to 29. H building, G building, H building, F building, C building. Because the temperatures are going to flare, man. Anytime there's heat in the summertime, I was in 4 rides. Every one of them happened in the summertime, in the dead midst of summertime. Because there's something about the heat and the living condition. They have a mental, uh, 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 creates a mental strain and stress on the way that you do time. You know what I mean? So whenever staff is not doing their job, I still think that it's it puts a strain on the things that are going on. You know what I mean? And need to find a way to give your tutors and your field ministers, man, some extra time or some extra credit, man, because I think that they're doing a lot of the problems that you have over there, they're being kept down at all the different camps by those who have took the active role to teach another man and prepare him for his release, or just even prepare him to take a class and everything. And it's getting so bad, man. If you start pencil whooping the class and get these people the proper class, then maybe the parole board will start accepting their certificate. I've been reaching out to the parole board. They look at the certificate coming from MDOC now as a joke because they're saying that the Bureau is pencil whooping the classes. You know what I mean? So I think that we need to, our upper level staff at each one of the institutions need to take a look at it and see and ensure that the people who are taking classes are attending those classes. There's no reason that somebody who's not attending the class should be getting credit for the class at SMCI, CMCL, Marshall County, Parchman, or anywhere. Why are the guys getting credit for a class at SMCI and when his address is EMCL or Greene County? Why are they graduating from these classes? So that's why the parole board are taking those certificates as a joke because, once you do an audit, you got to say where the guy was. How can he graduate from a class at CMCL when he's at SNCI, or vice versa? How can he graduate from a class at SMCI? And you don't have to do it. Just check your ARP logbook and see some of the guys' complaints. You know what I mean? So check your grievance process and just see that guys are graduating from class. When guys get up and go every day, make a conscious effort to go to the class, and he's not getting, then somebody who didn't even attend the class, who's even not at the institution, is getting the same certificate as him, getting MET time for it, at a whole nother institution, never attended one day of the class. So I don't think that's fair to the guys who are going to class every day. Uh, so let me ease on up the road to CMCF. I'm gonna start with 720. Miss Hassan, you still haven't changed your ways. I see that you're still disrespecting staff and inmates. I don't think they have any air too, if I'm not mistaken, in all of the buildings yet. You know what I mean? But prison is not designed to be 24/7 lockdown. That's why they have MSU for that. That's why they have Walnut Grove for that. And for you to keep your offenders locked up the majority of the week, the majority of the month, that's going to create, especially with women, man, it's going to create an undue stress when they can't see their families the way they want to, and when they can't get out and move around. And you're going to have 10% of the people who are not going to do right, no matter what you do. No matter how good you are to them, you're going to have 10% of the people that are not going to do right at any institution, any man institution, any female institution. And you also got to get on your deputy warden, what's his name, Lionel Johnson, I think that came from the Vicksburg PD, and tell him, man, that he's not above the law. You're bringing in, we keep on bringing these people from probation and parole and think that they're going to run correction. And we keep on bringing these people from the police department where they're coming inside the institution and thinking that they're a cop. You're not a cop, you're a correction officer. You're there for correction. You know what I mean? You're there to ensure that guys are rehabilitated, not have their rights infringed upon when you come from the street. You're not coming from the street being super cop into the prison because you were an insufficient cop on the street. And then really the one thing you need to do, Deputy Warden Johnson, is to uh, stop using your vehicle for personal use. That's the same thing that one of the officers at CMCE just was forced to resign for. You know what I mean? So your side job, your personal vehicle, is not for personal use. When you get off work there, it's for you to go back and forth to work, not for you to go home and then go to your next job in state vehicle. That's called misuse of state funds, you know. And so you want to come in being a player. Rodriguez had you. So you need to thank Deputy Superintendent Chambers, for saving you, for moving her, because she let you off the hook. She had a big fish from the Vicksburg Police Department, and she could have really punished you. So you need to be mindful of the things that you do. So you can't use a state vehicle to supplement your income, and you can't consistently. I think Rodriguez is a really good officer, and to you, Miss Keston, I don't have a problem with your family, but you're not above the law either, just because you have family in a high position there. You know what I mean? So stop acting like you're a super cop. Stop acting like you're untouchable, because the state don't care anything about you when They find out that you're doing wrong, when they find out that you're infringing upon some of the other offenders' rights, because you have a person in high place that's that's covering for you, that's ensuring that your uh, name is not coming up in any harassment things, or in any, how can I say it, any write-ups, you know. So thank God that you have somebody that's looking out for you. But just because you have somebody that's looking out for you, you can't continue to misuse your authority and be how can I say, abusive to inmates or other staff. You know what I mean? So I mean, tread lightly, man. They don't care nothing about you, me, or anybody that work there. As long as they're getting those dollars, you're just another pawn in the chess game that they're playing right now. And their biggest piece is being moved from uh, 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 probation and parole. It seems like probation and parole is orchestrating a takeover of MDOC. You bring the people who are there to watch over inmates when they're released. They have no experience dealing with offenders who are incarcerated or even going through that transition. So they're in on-the-job training, as we speak. You know what I mean? You come from probation and parole, it's a whole different feel when you're inside behind the wall. Probation and parole was after an offender release, and you're supposed to. And the only thing that you did was seek to violate somebody other than get him some substance abuse help. You have guys coming home who are already, they're going to come home hot. They use drugs in the system. So you test them the first week they're out when it takes drugs at least 90 days to get out of that system, and you're violating them because they're hot. And when they was getting access to the drug while they're inside, you know what I mean? So you could bring that same mentality within the institution, and you're still thinking that you're a probation and parole officer, man. You are a correctional officer, whether you're a superintendent, whether you're a deputy warden, or whatever position that you hold, or even whether you're a deputy commissioner downtown and you came from probation and parole. This is not the streets, and this is not probation and parole. This is the Mississippi Department of Corrections. This is not probation and parole. You know what I mean? So the criteria and the standards are different in how you deal with offenders. You know what I mean? You have to ensure that the offenders are getting the classes that they need. You have to ensure that offenders are having access to the legal system to be able to do their ARPs. And when it's a shame when an offender files an ARP and it's taking you a whole year to respond and answer. And who's being held for that? Who's being you know what I mean? But as soon as he committed an infraction and you find him wrong, you want to take all his rights from him, ship him off to a whole nother institution when he files an ARP. So you move him around 2 or 3 times, and by the time his paperwork catch up with him, you know what I mean? He done lost interest in even fighting for himself. So you're trying to break the will of the people. You're trying to break the will of the people, that are doing time, man. They're there, like I said, they're there to be rehabilitated, not to be punished. You know what I mean? So get on your case managers, man, and make them do their job instead of walking around screaming at the officers who are coming up showing the work on time. You're not screaming at the officers that are not coming in and calling in, that are leaving people out or hanging people out to dry and forcing them to do a 12-hour. You're already short staffed. So praise the ones that are coming in doing their job instead of hollering and screaming at them from your office. You know, and you can't be sitting there as a deputy warden and because you don't want to get out in the field and do your job, Mr. Johnson, and have other inmates calling you on the radio and letting you know when somebody higher up is coming. You know what I mean? They got radio and the radio and you telling you when somebody's coming. Yeah, yeah, it's common knowledge, and you know it is. You know what I mean? So get out and talk to the people, man, instead of sitting in your office, man, kicking back, you know, playing Superfly. You know what I mean? One of the old pimps in the game or something, or playing Rudy Ray Moore or whatever you think you're doing. You know what I mean? So you're not above the law, man. You're not above. Do your job. Don't come here with that police mentality from the Vicksburg, from the police department and bring it inside the penitentiary. You know what I mean? Like I say, because you only one, you got one foot on the banana peel and one on a forced to resign slip. But see, the only difference being that they'll let you resign if you were the other color, like the color of Mr. Fleming or white, or should I say. You know what I mean? They're going to put you in the funding papers, miss, and ensure
that the world knows what you were doing and everything and put you on the front page, in that little magazine and in that little newspaper in the Jackson Advocate. So you're going to be in the paper, man. They're going to tell you. So, man, just be mindful. Be mindful that you're only one step away from being in those funny papers, especially if you're using that vehicle to go to your second job as a security officer. Yeah, you want the pictures? I'll get them to you. That's all you got to do is ask me for them. You can get my number from anybody down there. You know what I mean? So, yeah, just be mindful. Just be mindful of that, man. The other thing is, man, they said they closed the place at Parchman. You know what I mean? Because the money trail is because they lost the money trail. They just want to do it and they're doing an investigation, so they're going to see. So it's not, you already had stopped and let the family only buy one meal during a whole 8-hour visit. It's a difference than you letting offenders buy food from the place and you serving the families when they're coming in. The difference is when you're serving food at the place and not giving them a balanced meal in the unit, then you're uh, definitely infringing upon their Eighth Amendment and 14th Amendment right because you got a full balanced meal that they can pay for, $8, $10, $12, $14 at the place, but then you can't, the meal that you're getting money from the state and the taxpayers to provide them with, you're not giving them a balanced meal. Man, you're giving them dried up hot dog and green beans on a molded plate. Man, some of the pictures and stuff, you letting guys smoke and put cigarettes on the plates and they're not washing them properly and you're bringing them, you're putting them right back out there. They're pushing them down the F building and leaving them sitting out in the flies or taking over the trays. You know what I mean? And it's taking forever to even feed. So that's one of the reasons that they closed the place, man, because people are tired of seeing taxpayer dollar and you're making at least $3,000 a day sometimes. You multiply, I just said 1,500 instead of the 7 days. I gave them an average of 5 days, you know what I mean? $3,000 a day. So that's 15,000 a week. So you multiply that times 52 and you see what you come up with. 3 times the money came up missing from the clubs. So they closed the clubs and consolidated the club, made one club. I wonder how much money they sold. They had a hovercraft sale at CMCL, and none of the offenders received $1 for anything that they made. What happened to the money? Almost all the items were sold. Now I think it was a little bit different at Walnut Grove, but I still would like to see an inventory sheet or an audit done of the stuff that was sold to the people that came to the art show, and then how much of the money, you know what I mean? If we're going to mimic Angola's, the way Angola do things in the hovercraft, the offender is supposed to get most of their money. You know what I mean? The state is not supposed to get their money. The officer that's conducting the hovercraft sale is not supposed to get the money. The offender is supposed to get the majority of the money. That's why he puts his hard time and hard work into making chairs, making beads, making dream catchers, man, not for the profit of or to fund the pockets of upper level staff. You know what I mean? And I still say, you said that, okay, you got the 48 million. Where's the item on the list what you're using the money for? Because you took the 10% from the officers, but you didn't take it from the exec staff. You still getting your 20%. All the regular COs that come in, you took the 10%. So why didn't you give your 20% back? You know what I mean? And it's been said that the one thing I did see when I was there, when Mr. Morrow was there, that he clocked in and out every day. But lately, since you've been there, Mr. Cook, that I wonder, I'd like to see your time sheet of when you clocked in, or when your staff clocked in, and when you clock out. Because you're no different than a regular CO that comes in, whether he comes in straight out of training or whatever. You got to clock in and out too. You know what I mean? So if not, you're still in time. But you're punishing people for, you're writing people up for what you say, riding the clock. You know what I mean? When you got a short staff, how is somebody riding the clock when his relief hadn't come in? Or you ask them, or you send them down to a building, send them down to 2060 count, and it's time for them to go home. You know what I mean? And you're not doing certified counts. You don't have any clickers, man. People are running around because they're ready to go home. They're tired. The morale is low, and they're pencil whooping the count. You know what I mean? Are you reporting these attempted escape to ACA? Are you reporting these suicides to ACA? Are you reporting these stabbings to ACA? You know what I mean? Are you doing the things that you're supposed to do with all the wrongdoing and report them to ACA so that they can be fixed? No, no. I talked to Mr. What is it? Destin Ritter or Hassan Ritter? No, you're not. We had three people within a 30-day period commit suicide, and he hadn't heard about any of them. You know what I mean? We had several staff from across the state, and he hadn't heard about any of them. You know what I mean? So we had a couple of attempted escape at MSP and CMCL, and he hadn't heard about any of them. And how is it that, jump back to, I'm just jumping around the state. How is it that an offender passed, man, and you take a whole 24 hours to tell his family that he died, from state, well, you didn't tell him how he died or the manner that he died or whatever, but it takes you a whole day or a day and a half to let his family know after he's been airlifted and passed away. How is it taking that long to tell a family member that their loved one has been killed behind the wall? You know what I mean? For whatever reason. You know what I mean? I won't assume whatever reason. And was that death reported to ACA? No, no, and absolutely not. You know what I mean? So I talk to them at least once a week just to see the things that are being reported. It's supposed to be common public. Now, how you not letting the public know that an inmate escaped or an inmate attempted escape? You're not supposed to wait until he gets outside of the fence or outside of the perimeter. You're supposed to notify all the sheriff's department of the counties that touch your border. If it's in the Delta of the Parchment, you're supposed to let Tallahassee, Sunflower, and Bolivar counties know that an inmate has escaped. You know what I mean? Just in case he get outside the fence, and the county sheriff would be on the lookout. But you're not doing that. You're not doing that. The same way if he was in CMCF, you got to let Rankin, Pearl, Rankin, Hines, and all the surrounding counties know that an offender has escaped. You know what I mean? And how are we taking offenders who disrespect staff and have a life sentence out to eat in a state vehicle? You know what I mean? Without a transfer. How they're consistently leaving MSP, CMCL, and we're taking them to dinner without a transfer. Man, tell me how. You're not above the law because you're a superintendent, deputy superintendent, or deputy warden, or even a maintenance supervisor. If you're taking an offender with a life sentence outside the gate, it needs to be a transfer. You know what I mean? And Superintendent Harrison, have you really checked up on the alleged quote unquote uh, through the fence sex scandal that's going on? Have you remedied that situation and put up cameras, or have your officers, or are your officers still turning a blind eye? You know what I mean? Or you punishing everybody so that they can't go out until you get to the bottom of it? You know, and if that young lady is pregnant, it still should be public record. You should let the public know. You know what I mean? And somebody should be held accountable. You know what I mean? And so I just think y'all got a lot of work to do, man. You got a lot of work to do other than running around, screaming and hollering at your staff member, who are coming to work religiously and faithfully to do their job. So now I want to talk to the men, the men and women who are incarcerated. Man, if you're incarcerated, the person that you're incarcerated is going through the same struggle that you're going through. So we can't. So we can't. You can't, as an incarcerated individual, take your frustration out on your fellow inmate. Why? Or your fellow convict? Because you're going through the same thing. If he's disrespectful, yeah, of course you're supposed to get him off the unit, man. But you're supposed to get him off the unit without violence. You're supposed to give him that option. It doesn't always have to resort to violence. because they don't care if you kill each other, man. They're still going to get the same amount of money, dead or alive. You know what I mean? And every time that you're killing, the state gets money, not the family. The state gets money to put him in a pauper's grave if you can't find him, and they're charging the families to get their bodies. You know what I mean? They're charging the family to receive their bodies, and they're not doing autopsies like they're supposed to do on these guys who have been killed or whatever, and the families don't claim the bodies that are buried. They're not being embalmed, nor have they had autopsies. But you hold them 2 or 3 weeks down at the crime lab because it's so backed up right now because of everything that's going on within the state. But you're sending them to MSP to be buried with no autopsy and no embalming. You know what I mean? Man, it's bad. The way we receive some of the bodies, man, and how bad they smell. I can only imagine. You know, the staff had to ride with a mask all the way from Jackson down to MSP, you know what I mean, for us to bury a guy. So when you ride a guy like that in the summer, especially with this heat, whether he's in an air conditioned van or not, man, then you're going to have gas and fume coming up off his body. You know what I mean? And what's happening to the money of the guys? I know I did at least 20 or 30 death notifications where we couldn't find a family member, and guys had a significant amount of money on their book. Where's that money going? Shouldn't it be going to either the upkeep, of the cemetery so that we can get them headstones? You can always tell, man, how people care for the living, even with the church. You can look at the cemetery of a church and know if they don't care about their dead, they damn sure don't give a damn about the living. You know what I mean? If you don't put your dead away in a proper way, then they don't care anything about you walking around in the living. Just pay attention to the different churches that you pass by and you ride by next time. If you look at that cemetery and that cemetery is clean and no grass is growing up and everything, that means that they care about the members of that church. But if you ride by a church and that grass is growing up around the headstone and some of your headstones are laid over and it looks like nobody has been out there in years except for the freshly dug grave, then don't you go to that church. That means that the church members or the pastors or the boards and everybody, the deacons and everybody, they don't care about those people that are in that church. You know what I mean? Because they're not caring for the dead. So when you ride up to Parchment and you look out there and you look at the fence and everything, when you see a cross on a grave made out of, what is it? The iron, the rebar, you got 2 pieces of rebar cut and put over, you got 2 pieces of wood cut and nail across into a cross, the symbol of a cross, and there's no markers on the grave, or there's a piece of paper or a tag, like a toe tag or something that's hanging on the grave, just to significant, that's not going to withstand the weather, the rain, and everything. And I really think that, man, we need to just back up and take a look. What about the 2 cemeteries that was raised, or plowed over just so they could plant crops in the field? The one that's behind, what is it, 22, across from the canteen, or across from the well, or across from 28, but right behind CID. You know what I mean? I remember a long time ago, there used to be a cemetery. And what about the cemetery that was all the way out in the back by 32? People don't even talk about that anymore. So they showed you through all the different administrations, man, nobody has came through and cared for the dead. That's still somebody's loved one, regardless if he stayed incarcerated so long that all his family members had died. You got people that's been there, man, since the 70s. They haven't spent any age. Been there since, one guy I know has been there since 1972. Hadn't had a write-up in the last 30 years. Yet and still he goes to the parole board and they set him off for 5 years. And what is he going to do? He's been at Parsons since 1972. You know what I mean? You got guys that's been there and hadn't had a write-up in 20 years. But he goes to the parole board and they set him off for nature of the crime. Man, I don't care how long you go or how much time you do, the nature of the crime is not going to change. What you have to do is sit down and talk to the man and see if his heart has changed and see if he's a person that you can trust to let out within society. He's good enough to drive your tractors, fix your automobile, do all your plumbing and everything, but he's not good enough for you to speak up so that he may go free. You know what I mean? You can call him at 2 in the morning when the lights go out and he can go up and get up on the pole in the storm and put your lights back. But then when it comes time for him to go to the parole board,
he's not good enough for you to let free. He's doing $100,000 a year job for free, for free. But when he goes to the parole board, you can't say, uh, you can't even speak up and say he deserves his freedom, and then bring him back and give him a job, and he'll faithfully come back and work for you. You know what I mean? But but here we are. We can bring, in myself included, we can bring other offenders from. Even though I'm the only one that was from Mississippi, we can bring them from other states and give them an opportunity to make parole and let them come and work in our correctional system. I have not seen Louisiana hire one person from Mississippi after he made parole for a cleaning job, as a cook, as a chef. And we got some guys that have been cooking down there for 25 and 30 years, man, incarcerated. So I just want you guys to just take a look, man. If you don't stand up for yourself and do your ARP, I'm not saying violence. Violence not going to get anything with you some harder time. You know what I mean? Because that's how they justify getting more money. Every time you stab somebody, every time you consider yourself a rival gang member, when you put the word gang member, that's how they're getting extra money, man, to keep you incarcerated. You know what I mean? Because chaos creates panic, and panic creates tougher laws to keep you guys in prison. You know what I mean? Man, if you guys start singing, and forgive me, man, put aside your racial differences. There's no black and white and brown in prison. Man, there's only the free and there's only the incarcerated. It's the only two people. It's not black and white. It's not GD Vice Lord or whatever you want to, it's not. It's only black and white, man. It's only black and white, and it's incarcerated and not incarcerated, and the free people. And so until you start thinking that your brother's problem is your problem, then you're going to always be in that cycle of, that cycle of incarceration. You're not going to be able to get out of that. You know why? Because you're not even focused on your freedom. You're focused on, and sometimes it takes so much energy, man, to focus on getting from day to day inside being incarcerated, man. You have to elevate yourself beyond your current situation mentally. Your body can be stuck there, but you have to mentally rise up out of incarceration and see how you want to become a better person in life. I did it, man. I did it by surrendering. You know what I mean? As long as I felt the things that God was doing for me, I always had a problem while I was incarcerated. Until I surrendered, you know what I mean, to the word, to the scripture. It was only then that I could really see. I could tiptoe and see beyond the fence and say, okay, there's a need for this. So I took every class I could. I had over 6,000 hours of education and training. Not training from the inside. I'm talking about training from NCCR, training from the culinary arts, you know, training from the U.S. Department of Labor. It's the same certification, so I could put it on my resume, and I have a certification for it, the same ASQ, American Society of Quality. Then that's a hard course and a hard test, but I saved my money and spent my own $500 to get certified as a quality auditor. You know what I mean? I spent my own money to get certified in SAP, the same SAP unit that they use at MDOC right now. But because I was a felon, I couldn't get promoted because I didn't have a degree. Let me say that, because I didn't have a degree, I couldn't get promoted. You know, there's nobody that I spent 19 years as an SAP operator, a SAP. You know what I mean? But because I didn't have my degree, I wasn't qualified. No matter how much I could do on paper, and I even trained staff there, on the integrated software. That's why Offender Track was easy for me, because it's a component of SAP. You know what I mean? And it's the same system. The only thing that changes is the person's MDOC number that you're putting in there. So it's the same integrated software all across the state. So that's what I did while I was incarcerated for 19 years, man. I worked on things that I could use to make me free. You know what I mean? And I tell people this all the time. The same things that you have in prison, on the streets, is in prison. You know what I mean? You got drugs in prison, the same thing. You got, meth, cocaine, weed on the streets, got the same thing in prison. You got the needles and everything. The only thing is a man's heart and him wanting to change because he still has the same access. You still sending people to 60 and 70 years, man, and you expecting them to come out to be a different person when you are letting them have the same thing that they had on the street. If he went to prison for being an addict and he's in prison, then he's still going to be an addict in prison. So until we work on getting rehabilitative programs, substance abuse programs, drug programs to help these guys, then we're going to have the same problem, man. We're going to have the same killing, the same thing. And as far as upper level staff saying that his organization are under control, they're never going to be in control. You know what I mean? But the thing about it, those guys on the upper level won't change. But you infringe upon their rights by sending them out of state. You want to send them to Tennessee, where you use the state plane to fly up and see them just so you can curb the violence here in the state. Why is he out of the state anyway? You know what I mean? Those are necessary. I won't say necessary either. Those are necessary people that you need in here because they can keep the violence down. You're not going to stop them from keeping it down by having them out of state. You know what I mean? That's why everything that you do inside is on Facebook and everywhere because they got the same access. You know what I mean? You know, it's crazy, man. So man, you're fighting the wrong battle. You're telling the public one thing, but you're doing the puppeteer with the other thing, man. And bring our boys back home. Quit swapping prison with other states. They committed a crime in Mississippi. They should have a right to be in Mississippi so their families can see them. You know what I mean? Just because you assume that he's doing something, you know, you can fly and see him when it's time, when you got a problem in the state. You know what I mean? But you can't bring him back to the state because you're telling the people that he's a nuisance and we need to swap him out with Virginia or DC or ADX or whoever, New York. You know what I mean? They had prisoners on prison swap, man. I met guys from New York. Their crime happened in New York, but they done swapped them out because he was a conscious person doing time up there, and he was able to, and I won't say control the masses, but enlighten the masses to show them how they can exist and do time amongst each other. You know what I mean? So stop telling the public one thing and doing a whole different thing. What's up, little brother? You know what I mean? And stop harassing your own staff just because they have complaints against you. You know what I mean? People that came in and put in 12 hours and you want to harass them. You want to be a puppeteer and send somebody else. You be man enough to go stop him. You know what I mean? Yeah. Stop sending your watchdogs because you ain't got the balls to go up and tell him yourself or approach him yourself. You want to do a row, 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 row. And your people run and then want to do your job for you. Man, leave people alone. Let them go to work and come home, man. You know what I mean? If it was me, if it was me and I had the power to, then I tell all the people that roll blue like me, man, you know what? Let's just take us one day off together. Just one. You know what I mean? And let them do it. Yep. No, you ain't got to call in. No, just take you one day off collectively. And with his, if you think they're short staffed now, you think they're going to pay now. Sometimes you got to sacrifice, man, to and come together and sit down so you can show people how valuable you are. You know what I mean? Yeah, sometimes we have to do that, man. What's up, little brother? You all right, Mr. Guy? Yeah. So just, man, you don't have to fight them. You know, it's the best weapon it is, man. Put it on paper. Put it on paper. When you do your incident report and put it on paper, then you're holding them accountable. If they ask you to do something that's outside the scope of your job or outside the SOP, man, put it on paper. Send him an email and tell him, are you sure that this is what you want me to do? And watch how his attitude change towards you because you're holding him accountable. When he tells you to do something that you don't feel is right, send him an email. Are you sure you want to do this? And you'll get some straightening. I guarantee you'll get some straightening. He won't ask you to do nothing else. You know what I mean? And he damn sure won't ask you to do nothing that's borderline wrong. You know what I mean? And all of them around here, whole across the state, across the whole state committing nepotism. You know what I mean? How you gonna have your loved one
your significant other working with you and beside you. If somebody disrespect her, whose side you gonna take? Yeah, Mr. Huffman, Batman. You know what I mean? How you gonna have your loved one working at the same institution right under you? You who's holding them accountable? Because you damn sure not gonna hold them accountable, no matter what they do wrong. You're just gonna take the paperwork, put it in 513, and nothing else is gonna be said, no matter how many complaints you get against them. You know what I mean? Miscatching. No matter how many complaints you get against them, you're just gonna take it and put it under and put it under the stack. You know what I mean? So y'all just be mindful of that, man. So before we run off and think, man, just pay attention and listen. Fan the smoke. Fan the smoke. You know what I mean? And look through and see what's really going on. Just check the fire. Just what's coming over from the fire. The smoke is just a screen to keep the public blind to what's truly going on and how they're infringing upon the rights of our men and women who are incarcerated. Man, our prisons are bursting at the seams, man. The parole board ain't letting nobody go, yet and still probation and parole is coming in and taking over MDOC. If you don't think, check where all your where the majority of your deputy, your superintendents and your deputy superintendent came from. They came from probation and parole. Probation and parole. They're not people who have been through the ranks, who came in as a CO1, CO2, and worked up a captain or major lieutenant. It's not them. It's people that they're bringing from other departments to run MDOC. So what's that all about? Yet and still, nobody's going home. You know what I mean? Hey, what's up, Rod? Yeah. And but one more word, Mr. Fleming. Man, stay out of my business, man. You don't like what I'm saying? Get the F off my line, man. You know what I mean? Don't listen to them. Yeah, but don't make no comment about me. That's what happened to Robin. Don't make no comment about me, man. You know what I mean? Yep, because I get my microscope and I find some of the things that you did, that you did that I can tell the people about. That was borderline wrong. You know what I mean? And the only reason that is, and the only reason you're not being prosecuted is because you haven't been caught. And you think that you're smarter than the system. But somebody's always watching. Somebody's always watching. So be careful when you open your mouth and you say something about me, Mr. Fleming. You know what I mean? I'm that same dude. I'm gonna tell you once again. I'm that same dude when it was time for bumping them to go home and Sammy them to go home, and you brought them over, asked me to look out for them, and I did that. You know what I mean? So don't wait until I leave and then you want to call me a racist. You know. So Houston, we have a problem, and there'll be some tea. I can promise you that I can share about you, sir. A whole bunch of it. Good hot bags. Yeah. So go ahead and push the mark one more time. You know what I mean? Yeah. But you guys be good, man. I love you guys, man. Stay prayed up. The devil is always busy, man. The devil is always busy. Yeah. Love you guys. Take care, man.